Year 7. So what I'm going to be showing you now is I'm going to be demonstrating how to do a fruit salad, which then you can turn into a fruit smoothie if you wanted to. So obviously you can change the ingredients as you want. I'm going to show you the ingredients that I'm going to be giving you in school, but obviously like always you can bring in extra ingredients, okay? So I want you to do this to your best ability for me, making sure that you're writing out your instructions as we go, okay? So your equipment for this process is we are going to need a white chopping board. Remember, we use white because it is not used for raw meat. Obviously, in other schools, there might be loads of other colour chopping boards, but obviously at our school, we've only got red or white. So we're going to make sure we're using the correct chopping board. We're then going to need to make sure that we've got a waste bowl, a container, a set of scales, okay? So I'm going to repeat all of these at the end, so don't worry. We're also going to possibly need things like a sharp knife, okay? So as I go through the recipe, make sure that you are getting all your ingredients, your equipment, and the step-by-steps wrote down, as well as the health and safety. Remember, I like you to have in your instructions as much detail as possible, so don't be just doing the bare minimum. Remember, we go for gold. I want you to do your best, okay? So first thing that we're going to do is we're going to start preparing some of our ingredients, okay? So what we're going to need to do first, we're going to need to take our set of measuring scales. What I do is a little bit of a cheat. Instead of having loads and loads of bowls, is you literally put your chopping board on top of the scale, so you can very faintly see where my scales are underneath that, okay? So we literally put the chopping board straight on. You're going to turn the scales on. The first thing that we're going to measure are our strawberries, okay? So we would like 150 strawberries, so it's quite a lot of strawberries, okay? So obviously you're just going to pop them on the chopping board, measure it until you've got about 150. I would advise going a little bit over. The reason for this is because obviously when we start cutting off the stalks and things like that, is the amount will go down. So I've done it to around 150, so 160, 170 mark, because we're doing 150 in total at the end. Okay, so those are my strawberries. So I'm going to remove my scales from underneath and place my chopping board flat on the surface. To prepare the strawberries, what I would like you to do is I would like you to use your fingers first to pull all of those leaves out of the way. You can see hopefully on this they're a little bit wet. The reason why is I've washed them ready before I started this video just to make sure there was no dirt on them. Okay, so I'm going to be slicing the bare minimum off the top. Okay, obviously some people will just pull that out and they will keep that bit, but me personally, I'm not a huge fan of that little bit there. Okay, so you're going to cut the top off the strawberry using your claw method, then using your bridge method, you'll cut it in half. It is your choice if you wanted to then cut it in half again, so you've got nice little quarters. It is your choice on how you prepare this, okay? So the first thing that you are preparing is your strawberries, okay? So we're going to get them all prepared, all the same, making sure they are as even as possible, making sure we are following health and safety, and making sure that we can do this, okay? The reason why I do a recipe like this is it shows that you can turn the most basic ingredients into a variety of different things. So obviously you can have it as just a standard fruit salad, or you can turn it into a smoothie. Obviously, depending on what you've got in your fruit salad, depends on how many different types of smoothies you could make, okay? So you will see here I'm just going through and I'm just quickly preparing all of my strawberries. I'm putting all my rubbish to one side of my chopping board because I've got quite a large chopping board, and I'm putting the completed one straight off my chopping board. I know you can't see where I'm putting them right now, but I will show you in a moment, okay? So we're preparing all of our foods and popping them out of the way. Okay, so I'm nearly done. Okay, so you'll see how I'm doing this. I'm trying to do it as quickly but safely as possible, making sure that I'm not putting any of those leaves inside my fruit salad. Okay, so last one after this one. So you're just quickly cutting up the strawberries and placing them in your containers, okay? So this container that I'm placing it into is basically what I would use if I was at work, or for you for at school. It's what you would take it home in, okay? Obviously I would be able to provide you one if you wanted, Because I'm already at home, I'm using a nice little glass bowl, which means it is all there ready and this can go straight into my fridge, okay? So I've cut up all my strawberries, that they're already there. What you can do with your fruit salad is think about your presentation the same as we did back with our dippy divers, okay? So, not dippy divers, sorry, your layered pasta salad. I'm thinking of a different year group then. Okay, so I want you to make sure that you're thinking about how you want to lay this out if you are going to be doing this at home. Okay, so the first one was our strawberries. The second one, you will see obviously I've got my rubbish. I want to make sure I'm putting this out the way into our bin. Obviously at school we have a waste rubbish bowl on our tables that we can use when it comes to us doing this, okay? The next thing that we're going to measure out, okay, is our grapes. Because grapes are round and they like to run away, is I like to measure them in a bowl, okay? Makes it a little bit easier so you're not having to catch grapes that are wanting to roll off our chopping board, okay? So for this, we are going to want 75 grams of grapes. So you're going to have to work quite well with this. Obviously, I've had practice how to take grapes off of the stalk quite quickly, like so. Okay, I know you can't really see them very well because I've got black grapes that are on top of a black scale, but I will show you in a moment. When I take it off the scales, you will be able to see. So I wanted around 75 grams of grapes, so I've got 77 there. Obviously, you can do more if you wanted to, but that is all that I would provide, okay? So obviously, it's not a lot, but it is over a portion, okay? So those are my grapes. You can either leave them exactly like that, or you can do what I'm going to be doing, and this is taking it one step further, and I'm going to take each of my grapes and I'm just going to cut them in half, okay? So I'm literally going to quickly take my grapes and I'm going to cut them in half and place them into my bowl. If you wanted to, you could do your grapes first because you could measure them straight into your actual container if you wanted to, and that would save a lot of washing up. Okay, so obviously you have to think about what you are doing, why and how you are going to do it. So on your instructions, please can you make sure that you are writing how we're preparing each of these foods, what we're having to do for health and safety. So for example, washing the foods to make sure there's no dirt. So I even did it with my grapes. Obviously I'm using my bridge and my claw method depending on the size of the item. So for example, the grapes, they are really small, so I'm having to use my bridge method and cut between my fingers. Obviously, I know you can't see that necessarily because my fingers and my hand is obviously in the way of the camera, but you can see there that I'm cutting my grapes in half and the knife was between my fingers like this, okay? So we need to make sure that you are doing this carefully, thinking about presentation at the same time. So while I've been doing this, I've been placing all of my grapes in the centre between my strawberries, okay? So I'll show you that again in a moment. I'm nearly done with my grapes, 2 left, okay? So we're just cutting the last 2 grapes. There we go. Remember, you don't have to cut your grapes if you don't want to. I just think it makes it look like there's a little bit more than there actually is. Okay, so I've got my grapes in the centre there, nice and neatly. Okay, so strawberries on the outside, my grapes are in the middle. Obviously, everybody can do it however they want. So after that, you are then going to take an orange. Okay, and obviously we all know oranges, how to prepare them. So we know we're going to peel it. Okay, and then we're going to get the segments, okay? Some people just put them in as a whole segment. Some people like to cut them off. Again, it is your choice. So what I do to save on a lot of time is you will see that I've peeled the outside of mine, okay? I've got mine all done, so it's now in one nice long piece. Okay, so I've got all my rubbish peeled off. We all know all that rubbish is going to go into our waste bowl or straight into the bin if you're at home. And literally, because I've got it like this, it means I can literally cut straight down the middle, like that, and then separate my segments, and it saves a lot of time with cutting up, okay? So I'm now going to place these into my bowl. I'm going to put these on top of my grapes, okay? Obviously, depending on what you are doing at home and what fruit you can find, especially during all this lockdown, is some ingredients are not very easy to find. So, for example, this was the last pack of strawberries. There was only 3 packs of grapes. So that's what I mean by when you're at home and things like that, you can adjust this recipe to whatever you want, okay? So obviously, if you couldn't find these ingredients, you'd just use whatever you could, okay? So we've got to put all my oranges on top of where my grapes were in the centre. Okay, obviously if you're wanting to take it further and do double recipes, that's fine. Okay, so for example, is on this is obviously I don't live alone and I'm at home, so why not? I'm going to do an extra. Okay, so obviously if you think actually no, I want to make enough to feed everybody in my family for a pudding or something like that, you can do extras, okay, for when you're doing this at home. Obviously when you're at school you can bring in extra ingredients. I'm only going to provide the minimum because obviously you've paid your money, that is all that you have paid for is the needed ingredients. Okay, so again, just to show you again, it's literally I've just had the whole strip and I've just cut them in half to create it to save a lot of time. So you can see there literally all of that so far. Obviously I know I've had more practice than you guys will have because obviously I've been doing this for longer, but so far I've only been going for 11 minutes, okay? And obviously if you practice and practice, you'll be able to do this as well and you'll be able to get quicker and quicker at your work. So if you want to practice this at home, you can, but you don't have to if you don't want to. Okay, so now I feel like I've got quite a nice amount of oranges there because my orange was quite small. They weren't quite big oranges. Okay, so once you've peeled that, you've then got that one ready. The next one is banana. Okay, so we all know with bananas, we're going to peel it. Obviously, each person peels them differently. But the main thing is making sure that you have got that banana without its skin on. Okay, that's all that I care. Okay, so we're going to make sure that that banana has been peeled. And then we're going to prepare this into nice slices. With this, I don't want them being loads of different sizes. I would like you to try and make sure they're as similar thickness as possible. So this shows that you can be consistent, okay? Obviously, I want you to try and make sure that you are doing it so there is plenty for everyone. Obviously, with your fruit is what we will be learning about in some lessons is we'll be learning about how much fruit is for one portion. Okay, so that will be covered in some of the next lessons when we are looking at our sugar content, because we all know that there is natural sugar inside our foods as well as added sugar. Okay, so again, you can see I've done my banana. I've put my banana around the outside. Okay, so it doesn't always necessarily look very nice straight away, but it is your choice on how you do this. The last compulsory ingredient is when it comes to making the smoothie, which will be adding a little bit of apple juice into our selected pieces of fruit to make our smoothie. Okay, so what I've done there is I've shown you how you could present your fruit salad. Okay, with doing a smoothie, I'm going to be using separate fruit to show you this, okay? So again, if I wanted to say, I thought, right, out of those 4 ingredients, I want to make a strawberry and banana smoothie. What I would need to do is I'd need to cut up my strawberries, however I would like. Obviously, if you're doing your fruit salad at the same time, I would advise, might as well, cut them all up the same way. Okay, so obviously if you've got too much of a type of ingredient, then you're going to have room to add it in afterwards. Okay, so you can see here, literally, you're just going to cut up your items, same as I already have shown you, like that, for example. Okay, and then you would add in anything else. So because I'm doing this so it's suitable for more than just one person, that is why I'm showing you with extra ingredients, okay, to show you how easy it is to do this recipe. Okay, so again, I've got my banana. I'm doing it nice and slowly so you can all see. Is I'm literally using my claw method and I am going to be slicing along the banana, okay? Obviously speeding it up because I can do this quickly because I've been cooking for a long time, okay? So that is my banana. With making smoothies, there are different types of blenders that we have in school. We've got ones where they are ones that sit on the surface and you put an attachment on the top to blend. You've also got the ones where some of you may have seen them, where they were the ones that we used to do our vegetable soup in, where it's got the blending attachment at the bottom, okay? So depending on what type of blenders that you've got at home or the ones that we are using in school, depending on whether you finish quickly or not, depends on which type of blender you would get to use, okay? So I'm going to be doing this in my very posh one that is actually a smoothie maker, okay? So with this smoothie maker, it's quite easy for me. I literally just drop my fruit into my cup and it blends it all for me. Okay, so some of you may have something like this at home. Okay, so with this is I've literally got my cup and I'm literally going to drop my food into here and it will all blend up for me. Okay, so look, you can see I'm just dropping my fruit into my blender, and this is how I'm going to make a strawberry and banana smoothie. Okay, so you can see there I've just dropped in all of my fruit, so I've got my strawberries and my banana. With this, I will then add in a little bit of apple juice. Obviously, the more apple juice you add, the runnier it will be. The less you add, the thicker it will be. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my tablespoon measurement, okay, which is 15 millilitres. At most, you will have 4 tablespoons. So for now, I'm going to add in 2. So 1 and 2. Okay, so I might not need that much. And I will literally take this and I'm going to attach my blending attachment onto here and I will blend this up. Okay, so it's quite simple on how this is done. It's so easy. People think that smoothies will take a long time or they'll take a lot of effort. Okay, but they really, really don't. Okay. So what I would like you to do is remember this video is going to get a little bit loud because I'm just using the blender off screen. Okay, so please feel free to pause or mute the video and fast forward it as required. Okay, so what I would like you to do for me is make sure that you've got all of that wrote down so far. Okay. Okay, so with my smoothie is I've now got my strawberry and banana smoothie made. It's nice and thick and it's all ready for me to drink, okay? Obviously, if you were wanting to adjust your recipe and you wanted to use any extra ingredients, that's fine. So for example, as I've got here a mango. I know a lot of people like to use mangoes because they are full of so much flavour and nutrients, okay? So I'm just going to show you how to prepare these ingredients. So what you would do is you would use your bridge method, but I'm just going to hold it at the sides to show you, and you would cut down, and there is what is called a stone in the middle, okay? So we're going to cut round, and we're going to do this very carefully. If you're at home, please make sure that you've got an adult to supervise you if you have not done this before, okay? I would like you to give it a go, okay? But you've just got to be very, very careful, okay? So there we go. I've just met up with where I was at the beginning. So now I'll be able to twist this. Sometimes it can be very difficult and you might need another piece of equipment to help you open it, and that is fine. So for example, I'm struggling to open this a little bit because this mango is nice and solid. So that means it's not fully ripe, but it means it's going to be nice to eat, okay? So if you are struggling, what you do is you just need to make sure that you've cut all the way down to that root, into that stone, to make sure that you have not got anything stuck, okay? And remember, if you are struggling, ask an adult to help you, okay? Because they might be able to have a bit of more strength than you, okay? So there we go. Right, so I've just cut round mine again to make sure and try and get a little bit more leverage. Okay, let's try again. Okay, so you will see there it's starting to come loose, but it's still very stiff. Obviously, different foods, depending on how ripe they are, depends on how easy it will be to do this. If you get to a point like this where you're really struggling and you can't undo it, what you can do is you can cut in the opposite direction as well. Okay, so you can see that I'm then doing it in quarters. That means I can just pull off one segment, hopefully. Let's have a look, see if I can do it. There we go. Because I've created that air bubble, I've been able to split it. Okay, you'll see there in the middle is where all that stone is. Obviously, you need to make sure that you remove all of that because you don't want to be eating that. Okay, obviously, if you can't pull it out, you can cut around it. So remember, put the flat side down. We're going to cut it in half like this, and you'll be able to peel around that stone. Okay, obviously, it can be quite stiff depending on how ripe your mango is. So you can see there I'm getting it done. I'm going to peel that out. Okay, there we go. So like you can see there with the mango, I've peeled it all out. So I'm only going to use 1/2 for this because obviously it's quite a solid piece of food. So what you would need to do is you would need to cut off the outer bit of skin. So you can see there how it goes back down. So you can do it in many different ways. You can do it like you would a kiwi, put it around the outside, which is the safer option because obviously you're not having to hold it in your hand. Okay, like that. And then you just got to be very careful cutting around the outside like a melon. Okay, so you can see that I'm going very carefully, making sure I'm not getting my fingers, using my claw method and my bridge method as required to get that skin off. So it only leaves that mango. Okay, so you can see there that is done. I'm going to do my other quarter. So I'm going to cut across the outside. I'm trying to do it as close to the skin so I'm wasting the least amount of mango as possible. Okay, some people, if you are not confident doing it like that, you can use a vegetable peeler, which means you will literally just use the peeler and drag across the top. So basically with your peelage is you would drag across the top so that the food, literally, it just peels off. So there you go, I've just done it, there you go. So it peels like that. Okay, obviously, depending on what equipment you've got at home, depends on how you would do this. Okay, so you need to make sure that you're doing this as safely as possible. Obviously, if you haven't got access to a peeler or anything like that, because your parents might only use sharp knives, you need to make sure that you're constantly going away from your fingers. I don't want to hear any parents complaining because you've cut your fingers at home. Okay, so always go away from your fingers for me. Okay, so there you go. You can see I've peeled off all of my skin. Okay, and that is that sorted. So I'm just going to put all my rubbish into the bin. Nice and simply. And then this, again, you can prepare it however you wish. So you can do it in strips like this. You can do it in little chunks. I do not mind. Again, if you wanted to, you can change this recipe however you want and use whatever ingredients you wish to make your smoothie. Okay, so I want you to make sure for me that you do this in whatever way is best for you. Okay, so depending on what equipment you've got at home, depends on how you would do this. So for example, obviously I've used my special blender already. So you could take an average cup, make sure that your blending attachment fits inside firstly. Like for example, this one, it would not fit inside. So they often come with a little container that it will fit inside. So you can easily do this smoothie in any way you want. So basically the reason why I'm showing you this second one is obviously if you haven't got a posh one like I've got, is you can create this in whatever way you prefer. Okay, so obviously each piece of fruit, it's your choice on what you use, it's your choice on how much of it you use, especially if you're at home. Obviously when we're at school, I can only give you a certain amount of ingredients. So for example, there's my mango all done ready. I would then add in that small amount of apple juice to help with liquid so that it doesn't really struggle to blend. Okay, so there we go, we've got that. And then I would literally just go down with my blender and blend it all up. Okay, so I will show you that in a moment. So with that is, like I said earlier, there are many different types of fruit you could use. So for example, one of the types of fruit that most people love to use but always hate the idea of trying to separate it is a pomegranate. So with a pomegranate, it's got the bottom and it's got the top where it hangs from the plant. Okay, and that is with the part that you have to start with. So what you have to do, you have to use your claw method and you've got to just go in through the skin. You will feel if you're going to hit seeds. So we're not going to cut very deep. As you can see here, I'm literally just scratching through the surface basically. Okay, and that means you can see I've got that nice little score line all the way around. I'll be able to get my fingers underneath that and I'll be able to pop off the top, which then reveals our pomegranate. Okay, so you can see all of these seeds inside. What you can also see is each of these lines where it's got that pinky colour, sometimes it will be quite white. That is where we need to score along the outside. So we would look at where it is, we'd roll it over, and we're going to do the same thing where we don't cut all the way through, we're just cutting slightly through the surface. We're finding each one, and you're just going to go through like that. Okay, so I've got one here, I'm going to go through the surface there, got another one there. The reason why you go through them as well is so that you can just scratch that surface in making sure that your pomegranate seeds will come out nice and easily. So I'm not going to go all the way around, but you can see there you will be able to pull out the outside layer of that pomegranate. Obviously, if you peel it from the outside, it will just peel apart like that, see? And all of these seeds can go everywhere. So I would advise doing this into a bowl, because otherwise you'll end up in a bit of a mess like that, okay? So what I want you to do is I would like you to design how you are going to create your fruit salad and how you are going to create your smoothie. Write your instructions, make sure that you've got it in full detail, and make sure for me that you are sending me evidence of your work, okay? So remember, we need to show how you would do your smoothie and your fruit salad, okay? So obviously you need to tell me what ingredients would you put in here and how would you lay this out. So I want a bit of a drawing, a bit of a sketch on how you would lay that out, please. Make sure that all of those instructions you have done to the way that I have shown you on Firefly. Good luck, guys. Off you go.